Hello and welcome back to my cave. My name is Damien. Thanks for coming back and checking out my channel. I really appreciate it. We're going to continue the series. I constructed this stone house I have the thatched roof. Last time we talked about how I did my doors, and this time we're going to look at how I did my thatch for this. And again, as I said before, I've seen a lot of great examples of thatched roofs in modeling and crafting. There's really good stuff out there. I don't have the only way to do it that looks great. I personally just really wanted something much more authentically weathered looking. So in my approach, my focus was to make something that really looked genuine and really looked old and weathered and sort of moldy and dirty, because that's sort of the aesthetic I like. So today's video, we're going to focus on how I did my thatch. All right, so now I'm going to move on to my roof. Again, I thatched the roof on this original build. I like my thatch. It's the first time I've ever done it. I really wanted something different than what I'd seen, especially in sort of the texture and the color. I see a lot of what ends up looking like brooms sort of laid across the roof, where you have rows that look like brooms, and that's just not authentic looking. And once again, if you Google thatched roof, I'm not saying I nailed it here, but I feel like I got as close as I'd hoped to, especially for a first attempt. But just Google old thatch. I really wanted an old weathered thatch, and this is really pretty close to some of the pictures that I saw. But the key is in the painting, really. But I definitely didn't want it to look like somebody just laid out rows of brooms. And another key is the material you use. So some people use different sorts of twines and cords and things. And a lot of those, once you start to pull them apart, they're very furry and fuzzy, and you have lots of little particulates. And this material that I found that I use, you don't have that. I'm not sure if it's sisal or sisal. I'm not sure in the pronunciation of that word. This is some basic stuff. I got it at a store we have here called Meyer. It's like our local version of Target or Walmart. Just a super basic department store, superstore kind of place. So this isn't like some fancy stuff I had to order. It's just generic, off the shelf. I'm sure they have it in all kinds of places, probably even Walmart. So it's this sisal medium cord that I got, and it looks like this. It doesn't just look like a standard twine. Now, what distinguishes it from others, as I say, is that what it's made of, these things, it's almost like a grass. I'm sure it's a kind of grass or something, I'm not sure, but it's super durable. I mean, I really put all my strength on this little piece, and I am able to break it, but it really takes all my strength. This is some very durable stuff, and when I pull it apart, it comes apart like this. You don't have a bunch of like little fuzzy floaty particulates. It really is this kind of I would call this looks like scale straw to me. So scale to the minis. If they were harvesting straw, this really is, it's smaller than straw that you would use in thatch, but it looks scale as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, or close enough anyway. So when I pull this apart, which I need to do, and I'll show you, it comes apart as those strings, and you won't see a bunch. You might see dust and things flying around, but maybe not. But I use this stuff. It's just twisted up. My first step is to reverse the twist. So I'm going to twist in the opposite direction. I actually will do this in little sections. I'll kind of twist and push together so it comes apart like that. I'll move on down, twist, give a little twist and push. I got a lot faster at this as I went. And I'll tell you, this is a little labor intensive. But once I give it the twist and push, I can pull it apart like so. Now if I take a piece, just show the problem I ran into. I was hoping I could just like give it a little twist in the middle maybe. I tried this and then I could pull it apart. And that didn't do too bad. You might get lucky there. But very often it would knot and bind and not pull apart. Look at that. I'm talking smack and just did it on the first try. These are a lot shorter than what I was doing for that other build because of this roof peak this pitch is a lot shorter. But anyhow, I'm really going to pull these apart down to their disparate parts. I don't want anything like this to remain. This would look like a rope laying on the roof, which you see a lot of in people who try to do thatch as well. I really want to pull this down to, I may leave a couple stuck together, like that's okay. I'll leave those two. These two stuck together, that's all right. These are all kind of coming apart now. But I really don't want to leave any ropes, so I really want to pull it all apart. And I'm just going to toss it in a pile here. I'm not too worried about the condition of that pile just yet. See, now I should have twisted this one. I didn't, and it's fighting me. All right, good. Yep, start pulling this apart. It takes a little time consuming. The other roof took me several hours, but I don't care because that's half the joy of this for me, is how zen it is. I really get to just sit and be zen and be chill. I'm not in a rush. I'm not in a hurry. As of yet, I don't really do any like commission pieces. Obviously, I just started the channel, so I don't feel pressured to get a video out right away. I hope I never feel that way. I'd like this channel to continue, but I'm really hoping that I never feel like I have to have a video out on a schedule. I mean, that may change. I might just be talking big game here, but I really don't like pressure when it comes to fun. So what I do next, then, once I have it in a clump like this, I have them hanging off here. You'll see the end is kind of uneven. So I'm like, you can kind of see it's almost evened up right here. So just these few are hanging out. So I'm going to grip this, not super tight, but tight enough that I can pull these end pieces off and sort of slide them out without pulling the others out. And then I'll lay them in there more evenly. I'll just pull out the ones that are uneven, and I'll lay them in there a little more evenly so I have a really nice thick bunch like so. Same at the other end. Just kind of even them all up. All right, and that's one bunch. That's a start. Now you could just make a bunch of this, pop on a movie, and just get this going and keep it in a tub. It's one of those things. Maybe you get some downtime from crafting. You can just pull a bunch of this apart and have it in a container waiting for your next job. What I was doing was I was just pulling it apart and tacking it down as I go. It just kind of, my brain sort of works that way. I prefer I prefer the variety in my task. So I get this bunch pulled out. I'm going to start at this end. I'll lay it out kind of flat. You can see there that first little attempt, it was 2 strings worth. I didn't need to make them that long, obviously, but it gives me close to a centimeter's worth of coverage right there. Now, here's the part that I can't necessarily endorse, but it's what I do. So anyway, I am going to hot glue this down, and hot glue is hot. And I did wear band-aids on my fingers as I did this because I'm going to lay a pretty thick bead of hot glue down, and then I'm going to press this material into it. My fingers can mostly take it, but it got a little warm after a while, so I was wearing band-aids. But I think I think the key is to move fast. So I got a nice little douse of glue there. Lay this down, kind of spread it out a little bit, and press it down. See, it got me. It's warm. And as I go, I sort of spread and pull it apart. I might get some pieces stuck to me. No big deal. It's messy. Those just come right off. I glued myself. And voila, there's your first layer. I didn't get right to the edge. It's no big deal. Like, I don't have to be too particular here either. I can, because I did lay in a second layer on my original build. So with the next little tuft, I might go in and just pull it right to the edge here. But that's the first amount. And you'll just repeat that process. I'll do another one here. Less talking, more working. I'll just keep going. I'm going to trim this all off when I get, to the end of this side. And you can see what I really need is about. I do want some slack on there. I do want some extra, so give it an inch off each end. I'll go ahead and cut 2 of those because it's about 2 bunches that I like to work with at a time. All right, and that's going to go in there right next to that one. Again, a nice healthy dose of hot glue. And I kind of lay it out, press it in, pull apart as I do so it gets nice and flat. And you'll get these little, hot glue will come through and you'll get these little beads of hot glue. You can rub those off and they come right out. And I keep on working across the board. Now, a lot of that is not glued down, and what I did on the other build was I did do some thin glue here. Let that sit for just a second so it's not piping hot, and then just press that down in there like so. And that'll glue it down. Plus, when I do the painting and the clear coating and everything, it's not going anywhere. I mean, it really is not going anywhere. You hear the stuff right around outside. I mean, it's solid on there. Okay. And I will keep on working on that. All right, as you can see, we've got the thatch all the way across the roof. This took me maybe 15 minutes total. As you can see, I mean, it's just a small piece. If I had to just guesstimate, this could be, at the speed I'm moving now, I maybe could get this thatched in 2 hours now. But there's that. So it's hanging considerably off of both ends, which I will now trim down. I'll trim it down to about there. Same thing over here. Maybe give it a little bit longer on the. We'll call this the side that's going to be the peak, and I'll leave it a little bit longer. So this is the eave here, edge of the roof. It'll hang down like so. But what I'm going to do is, this is all. Actually, I will keep all this. I have this all stored and use it for other projects. But so underneath the edge of the roof, I'm going to have this all folded back like so underneath, but I'll do it a little bit at a time. So I'll hit it with some glue and fold it and press it into the glue. A little bit of glue. Press it down in. And just hold it there for a second. As I've said before, I'm particularly resistant, I think, to the hot glue being right on my finger. It just doesn't bother me as much. Sometimes it burns me, but I'll keep folding that under the edge of the roof and press it down into the glue. Get a nice firm push. This is kind of escaping here, so give it a little dab. Press that down in. If you kind of press and move fast, it doesn't bother, the heat won't get to you too bad. See, and then you're getting that nice clean edge. I'll take care of these stragglers here in a minute. So as you can see, I got all that. So that'll be the bottom edge of the roof there. This will sit like this. I would have more of an overhang normally. Let's see where this one lays. Yeah, so I would like that to hang further over, but I did this sort of quick and dirty, so it's kind of flush with my door, but that's basically what's going on there. So I folded it all under and glued it down into that edge. It makes this nice edge. Now I do, as you can see, I have all these hairs hanging off, and you could go through and clip off and do that, but I really prefer to just do this. It's quick, it's easy, it takes care of my loose ends. I don't want to burn my roof down as you know, but it works. Look for any strings kind of sticking out oddly. If I just sort of catch the little loose ones, it won't do any damage. Perfect. Now, the extra that's hanging off the other side, I am going to, that will, once I tack the roof on, if I thatched both sides, I would trim this one down, the other one, I would trim it right down to the edge. So it would be thatched, I would trim the excess right down to the edge there. So that when I lay this one on, I can fold this over and onto that corner, which I can do. So these would be glued on, and I would just tack all this down to that side. I may even cut some more of that off yet, but that's essentially the thatch, the laying of the thatch. I'm not going to tack the roof on right now because I still have to do my stonework. That'll be another video. But now I'll show you how I paint. Okay, I'm going to start off with a base layer of this golden brown, just Craftsmart golden brown. Comes in many sizes. I got the big bottle there, but I'm going to give this a, I don't know. I'll just start brushing it on. I don't want to fully paint all of this, that color. Now I'll tell you, I would already have the roof tacked down probably before I painted it, but so again here I have all my stonework. I did all the stonework first and then I put the roof on, then I painted the roof. But I don't need to do that for this. I'm just showing you. So I want to do like we're going to call this a, I don't know, maybe a 50% density on this. I still want to keep the color of the original material, especially underneath. So I'm not going to press down in or soak this at all. I'm hitting the surface of it. This really is going to be layers of dry brushing. And this isn't a totally dry brush, but it's not soaking wet either. Make sure I get the edge. And probably the underneath too, because if that was hanging over, you would see the underside as well. So you can see, I went from that to that. And that's the first coat. I'm going to get most of that paint off of the brush because I can still use this dirty brush for the next one. And now I'm going to get into my greens. So I'll start off with, I really love this Craftsmart camouflage. They call it the premium satin. This is like $1.20 or something a bottle. It's called premium, but it's by no means expensive. It's pretty bright, so I like that, but I am going to put the smallest little drip of black. In fact, I'm going to put the black here on the, put the black out here on the edge, so that I can pull in a little bit of a time. I'll just use the handle to pull in a little bit of black. That might even be enough right there. Yeah, and you know what? This needs a little bit of, we'll go with, we'll go with just a, no, that's too dark. With a touch of this Craftsmart Espresso. Same thing, I'll put it out here on the edge and pull some in. Just add a little bit of brown to that green. Oh yeah. A little bit more black. More of that brown. I might want even more of that brown. So the brown pulls the sort of the vibrance out of that green. Makes it a little bit more dull and kind of grimy looking. Yep, that's a good color. Alright, can you see that? Pretty good. And I don't have any exact measurements there. I'm just mixing till it looks like I like it. Alright. And this is going to be a pretty dry brush. I definitely don't want to go in there with a bunch of paint. Uh-oh. Okay, let's see what that gives us. Yeah, I'm going to dry it off too much. Okay, just a little bit. I'm just going to kind of graze it first because I don't want to lay on any paint. I really don't want to lay on a bunch of heavy paint here. That's good. It's coming in there now. But I don't want to leave any big patches. I really want to touch every area with this green. I'm not getting a thorough covering, but I do want it everywhere. I don't want there to be any big patches that still look like straw. Oh yeah, it's coming. Already I can see that. Oh yeah, it's looking good. All right, so it's, again, you still see the layer beneath coming through. There's still plenty of that yellow and that brown that I laid in there, but you're getting these variations in color, these layers coming on. Yeah, so I might do a little bit more of that camouflage, but I want to keep it a little bit lighter. I mixed up too much paint here. That happens all the time. But now I'm going to skip the black. I'll hit it with just a tiny bit of this burnt sienna. That's going to give me a real nice sort of almost an olive, a little bit of that black in there. See the differences in those greens now? This is going to be my next dry brush layer of that green. Even less coverage. And I can keep using the same brush. Really load the brush with paint and then get almost all of it off. And I'm not going to cover everything this time. I'm going to kind of just hit spots with that. I'm not really getting in here very well. This underside is mostly hidden, but you don't want anybody to look under the roof and see that it's still all white, or straw looking. Oh yeah, look at that. Looking good. All right. Now I'm going to just go in with some straight up gray. Just plain old gray. I'm not going to do anything to it. This is where you get that old. It's pretty bright now, so it looks like you have an active, flora going on here. Something's alive, the moss or whatever is. But I want it to look like, I want it to look more like it was active a long time ago. So maybe there's still some green, but I really want to mute that with this gray. Load it up and brush it off. And then I'm just going to kind of quickly nick. And just mute that green a little bit. This brush is almost totally dry now. I'm just pressing in. So you see now, it's not so vibrant. It really looks like old rot. We're getting pretty close to the original. I did go a little too heavy on the gray the first time. As I said, I really feel like I've already thought of ways to improve on it. I'm already liking this more. Now, what we're going to do now is add some grime, and that's pretty much the colors I've been using, but I want more brown in there. So add some more brown, mix that up, pull some of that green in, a little bit of that black in there. This mostly brown with some green, some of those greens mixed in. Just using up this paint and pull all this green over there. really I'm going for like, you know, that's just straight up mud. And again, same brush. I want to build this up very slowly. And I'm just focusing on the bottom edge. So as water is running down the roof, it's hanging on the edge. You know, if you look after a rain, water hangs out on the edge of the roof. It's going to stay wet longer than, say, up here. This is going to dry out, where water at the eave or at the you know, the edge of a roof is going to stay there longer. You're going to have more dirt. Dirt's going to build up down there. More, you know, grime is going to build up on the edge of things. So I'm just going to go in from the edge and pull up with this light brown, this brown, not too heavy. I want it to be barely noticeable, honestly. And just pull up. I'm not going all the way up the roof, just up maybe, I don't know, a quarter. And you can kind of, you can maybe see the variation there. There's a line here where that little bit of brown is built up. Now I'm not worried about this being that visible because I'm now going to add to that. I'm going to get right into my, this is a burnt umber. It's a very dark brown. Just going to add a little touch. Just like that. Darken it up just a little bit. You see that, brother? I darkened it just a little bit. It's pretty much the same color. And now instead of, so when I was brushing up before, I was going about up to here. Now I'm going to say I'm going to go up about 2/3 of that distance. Same thing. Really get the brush mostly dried off, and just about 2/3 of the last bit that I brushed up there. And that's it. So you can see I'm getting a faded effect. It's darker here, and it's fading up into that lighter. And now I'm going to darken that up even more. I'm actually just going to pull this black in there now. That's really going to give me a dark, heavy mud. See there? It almost has a gray. It's like a gray brown. And this is going to be just the last little edge, just where the water would hang out the longest there, right at the edge of the roof. Just going to pull that up just a little bit from the very edge. And go around here. Really get the edge underneath very well. And there you go. You can see now you have this this gradient from this murky, muddy brown up into our green. And that is essentially what I did, you know, with this. Although I didn't do, again, I like this, but I already feel like I've improved on the technique even now. And then once I've constructed the whole thing, I'm going to hit the whole house with the black wash. So when I hit this with the black wash, you're really going to see. In fact, I may go ahead and do that now, just so you can really see. I'm going to give it a little bit of a dry. Especially there on the edge where I just did all that brown. No worries, looks good. Come in with the black wash. Same brush. I want to get all the paint out because I don't want to get a bunch of paint in my black wash, but I don't need to change brushes yet. You know what? In fact, I'll give it some. I'll rinse it out a little bit. Rinse it out in my water jar. Get that water out. The brush can still be a little wet because the wash is mostly water anyway. So pretty full brush of wash and just slap it on. And then I'm actually going to go in and dab off and pretty much towel, pat dry that. And that is what, I mean, that's just a really old, muddy, dirty, moldy thatch. I like that. This may be overly weathered for you, and that's okay. Just everything I did, do it lighter. You could also go back if you feel like you overdid it and it's too dark. You could go back and dry brush some lighter browns or some tans on there. I got a lot of loose little stray grass here. Now when I go, I also clear coat everything. I'm going to use a Krylon matte clear coat, and that will also really make sure everything stays solid. But really, that's it. That's a really old, weathered, moldy thatch job, and I went particularly heavy on the weathering. But that's the aesthetic I really like. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, I for sure will answer them. Thanks for checking it out.